happiness leads to success more often than success leads to happiness. And that vision of power, power is obviously very influential, but power is very different from likability, from connecting with others. In fact, there's this balance where the more powerful we feel, often we tend to dehumanize others. Empathy levels decrease. Power affords great things in life, a level of safety, comfort. But likability is the thing that is most correlated with happiness, with connecting with others. And when you look at longitudinal studies that follow people their entire lives, it turns out across the board that, relationships, are what brings us the most happiness, brings the most lives. And, power is not connected with it's connected with having relationships because people want stuff from you, but not with great relationships. So I think we often conflate the two, that, very often we, especially when it comes to the issue of work-life balance, we use what's called a collapsing metric, where it's just simpler if we can just track one thing. And if I can just track that one thing and I can make that number go up, everything will be good in life. And you know what? Money's a pretty easy number. So people often think, well, if I just make that number go up, everything will work out.
Right.
And whereas in many cases it actually turns out to be the reverse, in the sense that chasing money means devoting your time to work. Devoting your time to work usually means taking your time away from relationships. And relationships are the things that are most connected with meaning in life and happiness. There were actually 4 buckets that people needed to be regularly putting deposits in. The first was happiness, which is basically, are you enjoying what you're doing? The second was achievement. Do you have goals, or you're getting closer to them? The third was significance. Is what you're doing having an impact on the people you love and who love you? And then fourth was legacy, which is, to some degree or another, are you making a positive impact on the world? And when you think about it, the balance of those 4 really makes sense, because you want to enjoy life, and you do need to pay the rent, achieve goals, move forward. And if we feel like what you're doing isn't benefiting the people you love at all, or is, maybe even a negative, that's not going to lead to a meaningful life. And then fourth, you don't want to just be selfish and clannish. You want to think like, I'm doing something to really put something out there. Making small deposits in each one of those 4, that's when you start to be on your way towards a level of work-life balance and towards a level of feeling meaningful, having a meaningful life. We all have that voice in our head. How to incorporate, optimistic self-talk and these other habits, because when we talk about grit, when we talk about persistence for long-term goals, one of the things that's been most proven is in having that optimistic mindset. Because when you believe, hey, if I show up tomorrow, it's going to work out, then you show up. It makes sense. And if you firmly believe, I'm going to go there tomorrow and it's going to be a waste of my time and I'm going to feel stupid, well, what do? It feels futile.
Right.
And over long-term goals, if you feel like it's going to happen, if you don't show up, if you feel like there's no point to it, you're not going to do it.
Right.
And it comes down to that belief that positive things, they're personal. I was responsible. They're pervasive. Hey, across a range of areas, I can do this, and it's persistent. If I do this, it's going to work out. And people who are pessimistic believe the reverse. And so things start to feel futile. When things start to feel futile, why continue? Doesn't make any sense. If that attitude continues long enough or hard enough, that's how you actually end up with clinical depression. Because when life feels futile, when it does not feel like continuing anything is going to pay off, then you start to shrug your shoulders and say, what am I doing? So optimism is strongly correlated with happiness, and pessimism is strongly correlated with not only quitting, but also with depression. Stress in small amounts, can be a performance enhancer. When you're feeling groggy, when you're feeling tired, you're not at 100%. A little bit of stress is good, but a lot of stress, especially a lot of stress over a long period of time, we all know, this isn't good. And when you feel powerless at work, when you feel like you don't have autonomy, when you feel like nobody's listening to you, don't feel respected, stress levels, your cortisol levels go up. And over a period of years, feeling like, what you do doesn't make a difference and feeling like you're not respected, having stress levels elevated like that, what you see is over time, years, decades, people are much more likely to have coronary incidents. Just because somebody has a lot of money doesn't mean they're happy, and just because somebody's happy doesn't mean they have a lot of money. But obviously, we often get this feeling like if we get power, then that will relate to happiness. And that's not necessarily the case. We always talk about peer pressure in relation to teenagers. Peer pressure affects us our entire lives. We are always influenced by our context and by the people around us. The biggest danger there is we don't realize it. We are always influenced. Whenever you interview at a company, look around at the people at that company, because you're going to become like them. They're not going to become like you.